media did we reach the summit? And the host of the session is Jeff Pulver, which is a personal inspiration, not only because he's an events entrepreneur and guide, and because he can teach you everything about building companies, but also I think because Jeff can teach you how to be a match. Jeff is social, online and offline, and he's a great guide and great point of direction for everyone that's an entrepreneur or just a good person, wants to be a good person. So I'll just give you a few fast facts about Jeff. Jeff is the founder of Free World Dialogue, the Bond Coalition, BIPOPs, and he's the co-founder of Zula, which you may know. It's a new exciting startup, and the voice-over IP provider Vonage. He has influenced the creation of numerous other startups, active investor in existing companies with a specific focus on Israeli high-tech startups. Named by Businessweek as one of their 2003 tech awards. Without further ado, and with a lot of admiration.
Thank you. Wow. So, before we get started, I'm just curious from the audience, how many people here are, you guys want to know whether they're corporate, whether they're, so how many people here are involved in marketing? How many people here are involved in, I don't know, any educators here, teachers? I'm sorry. Okay. And as far as social, how many people here are active on Facebook? How many people here are active on LinkedIn? Ooh. And Twitter? Just curious. And what about like Instagram? How many people here are sharing? And Path? You want to know Path? Any people here are still on Path? I have a Path account. Ah, we do in the back. Good. And any, I don't know. So and Foursquare. Are people here using Foursquare? A few of you. Yeah. So we're doing marketing research for these companies that are not, just to see what's going on. So I'd like to let's go down the aisle. Carol, perhaps we'll just do quick introductions, and then we'll have a conversation. And the one thing I would like to do is, as we're talking, if we inspire you to ask a question or call bullshit on us, or otherwise you have something to say, do not be shy. We have like to make this as interactive as possible, at the same time give a chance to everyone up here to speak. Go ahead.
So I'm Carol Zibi, and I run enterprise marketing for LinkedIn.
So I'm Marc Mathieu, and I'm Global SVP of Marketing for Unilever.
Hi, I'm Frédéric Josue. I'm the head of innovation for Havas Media France and Global, and I'm the chief of staff of the president of Havas Media. And
we'll share. And I'm Jeff. So we that was very quick. We said 15 seconds for introductions. You guys nailed it in 3. So the topic of today's topic of session is social media. Did we reach the summit? I would make the argument that while I appreciate and with great respect think that's an interesting title, I believe that social media is something which is with us for our lives, and that it's been happening around us before we had a term, and it'll be long with us long after the term is overused. That I think what we're really talking about here today is maybe how businesses are using social media as a way to have a channel to messages to be heard, to activate new accounts, perhaps to do business. There's also the personal side of it, which I'll mention just briefly for those of you who don't know me, because I think that there's a balance. And one of the things about social to me is that some people give out. We used to have work phone numbers, and we used to have personal phone numbers. We used to have email addresses that were for work and for home. And there's been a blending. And I think one of the effects of social is that we actually realize we're one person. We may have multiple personalities. We may actually present ourselves differently in different circles. But at the end of the day, it's all about us. And I went through something the last 14 months that those of you who are friends of mine on Facebook or follow me are aware of, that somehow I actually got rid of 53 kilos of weight, which I only really could do because of the support that I have from people on Facebook. Because while it takes a lot of mental effort and exercise and commitment to do things, the feedback that I've gotten and continue to get inspires me every day to do things. And it's something which I cannot put a price to, but I'd say it's priceless. I don't know what the price is for extending your life in terms of how much you're willing to pay, but I am indebted to everybody around the world who's been part of this. And I have a niece, Emily, who is not here, who calls me Uncle Selfie because she thinks I overshare. She thinks that every time I wake up I say I'm going to the gym, it's too much for her to handle. She's 19 years old in university. But what she doesn't know is that each day I get messages from strangers thanking me for sharing what I'm doing because it inspired them to change and touch their lives. And I think that, to talk about social from a business perspective and not touch on the personal side, I think would be disrespectful. Because I think that what we have is a new ecosystem that's evolving where we can share messages and broadcast if we want to, but we can also make it personal one-to-one, and we can scale in a way that we never could before, and actually create and share meaning with people's lives. And I think that's where the magic is. And maybe we have to figure out the discipline of where we are open, where we're closed. If you can't tell, I'm pretty open about things. I don't have too many borders, but I do have some. And in business, we have to worry about transparency. We have to worry about having emotions. I hosted conferences in New York about brands and social media. I asked questions like, can brands cry? Can they share emotion? Can Tide be, can they be snarky? Can they have a personality? And if you're a product manager for a brand on Twitter, can you be yourself, or do you have to always represent the company line? And how do you figure these things out? And all this is new. I mean, because we never had this before. But the one thing about social that I think changes the world is that any one of you who've ever been on Twitter or ever had a good Facebook interaction knows that companies are now alive, that there is a back channel, that there is a way to reach out and say something, and if someone's listening, you have the opportunity to be heard and to be acted on. And whether it's you're in an airport, you're looking for flights, and all of a sudden you get delayed. My friend Jacob, near David, Jacob, you had an experience with United, where he was there was a bad weather in New York, and he couldn't get through to change his flights. And Jacob has 7 kids, and so when he travels as a family, it's an adventure. And his flight was canceled. And he actually reached out, complained on Twitter, and he created a back channel conversation which tried to solve the problem. But brands are listening, people are there, and so I was just curious to the panel at large. What are your if you're doing on the corporate side of things? Are you listening as well as transmitting? How do you define the roles, and what do you tell companies how to operate? What's your advice to them?
Well. First of all, I mean, everything you say, you're absolutely right, and we're only going to see an acceleration. So what we need to do as a big company, as Unilever, one of the challenges is to continue to update the way we do things and make it a two-way street, make it really a conversation. And we have some brands where we do a superb job. I mean, recently on Dove Sketches, we had a wonderful example of something where we were really interactive and really, having a conversations. We have brands like Ben & Jerry's that are constantly online, and, we have a, community management is a way of life within Ben & Jerry's. But then we also have, some marketing, challenges to really go completely from a traditional way, which still lives, in all the companies of the TV ad and buying media, to really almost flipping the model from paid on earned to earned on paid, and thinking that the conversation is what's going to make us earn the reputation.
So I do agree that all you said was great, and I do totally agree with you. What do we propose to our clients? So Havas Media is a media agency in France, a leading French agency, very small regarding the planet, because we have Publicis in front of us. We try to renew the way we sell social networks, because we identified few issues such as privacy issues. Youngsters really care about privacy nowadays. They don't want their data, their pictures, what they write to be spread around the world.
Youngsters care about privacy, really?
Yeah,
in France? Or?
In France, around the world, we try to follow this, and maybe they don't want to be followed by their parents either. So that's a hipness issue or an industrial issue. We could say that the circle of innovation is going so quick that there's so much innovation that they try other social networks such as Path. Few people use Path now, but Ask Line in Japan, Snapchat, etc. So there's a circle of innovation that goes so quickly that we have to understand those new social networks, and we have to propose these new social networks to our parents. And we faced also what I could call ROI issues. I know that this is an awful word, but
ROI, like return on inspiration?
Exactly, that's what we do. That's what we try to do. And basically, as you know, engagement and reach decreases with the number of fans that you have. So we had to change the way we used and proposed social network to our client. And for instance, I think that the purpose of the function of social network it's changing. Nowadays, as you can see it, Twitter is sold as a complementary media to TV. So social network helps media, traditional media, to enhance the power of their content. It helps them source content, crowdsource content, and spread content. So it's a great platform to find new, fresh content. Weather channels, they use Twitter to know what's the weather in every place in France and all over the world. They try not to use models anymore. They use social network. Social network used to be a destination where people could be in and share. It's more like a channel, I think now, a connection platform. And every company that's not social by design, I guess, as you said, is going to die. It's really key for us to have a social network inside the company so that we can engage employees. I mean, social networks inside a company really disconstruct the production process, because everybody can now produce what we sell to the client. Everybody, not only the bosses or the hierarchy, can play and produce what we sell. It helps us so find ideas. It's also something that can be an order platform, social network. So it's really a connection between people, brands, content, and product. So the way we use social network is really changing, and the purpose, I think, of social network is really changing.
So just curious, how many people here consider themselves the community manager for their company for social communications? How many people here have someone responsible for social communications for their company? So, you know, those of you who didn't raise your hand, if you're wondering what are we talking about, one of the things which has gone on in the last 5-6 years, but it really, community is something which has been around us since the early days of, you go back in history to whenever you believe history started, there's always community. There's always somebody who was sharing stories. There's always somebody who was trying to gather people together and to be responsible for messaging, to make sure we're on message, being able to actually make sure that they communicate what's happening from one community to another. And the advent of social media in business, at least in the States and I believe in Europe and some people here in Israel, there are people who are actually responsible to make sure that you're on target, so that if you're not on, many companies, maybe they should not be on Facebook, maybe they shouldn't be on Twitter,